moral character of a state. Given the fact that, as John Adams said, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people, is wholly inadequate to govern any other. And as Ben Franklin said, only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. And given the fact that people are tired of scandal, corruption, and immorality, and a general disregard for the Constitution and the rule of law in Congress, why should anyone vote for you to be the next senator from Connecticut to represent us when you have shown yourself to be less than virtuous, moral, or religious, when you do condone the on-stage cavorting of your own husband in a sexually explicit manner with other women, when you condone yourself sitting in a wheelchair and in a catatonic state watching this, the name-calling, humiliation, and slapping of you by your own daughter, and your own kicking in the groin of various individuals, even if it is just an act. How can you look to people in the eye and tell them that you are the best suited for the high position of senator to lead our nation in a morally righteous and constitutional manner to a better place in the future?
Well, I can tell you, you have to separate a soap opera and programming content from individuals. And I dare say that if you look at many actors and actresses, first of all, I'm really not a very good actress, but if you looked at actors or actresses, you know, across our country, I mean, Ronald Reagan was an actor. That was his whole profession before he became governor and then he became president. Now, he picked different roles, but he was an actor. But if he had played in one of those movies, you know, kind of a comedic stand-up, person who had slapstick, would you think that's how he'd operate in the presidency or in the governorship? No. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's governor of California, while Connecticut may be in a mess economically, Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't, walk into the State House with machine guns blasting. It wasn't about his character. It was about a character he was playing.
But those actors and all actors have to decide what roles they are willing to play based on their moral principles. And if that is the issue, that you have chosen to portray yourself and chosen those roles that are, for all intents and purposes, immoral to some people.
Well, without getting too much, and I understand your question, without getting too much into the whole issue of how a soap opera works, the few episodes that I've been in WWE were part of a greater story. And while WWE's content is a bit over the top sometimes in portraying those images, the result to get to was a justification in the end for poor behavior. And that is actually how it came out, in the end.
But the episodes are not portraying that this is a bad thing. This is something that is laughed at. This is something on your business is promoting this to children, to action differentiated, to the extent that children and parents would appreciate, this moral character. Again, I don't think the founders would appreciate it either.
Well, can't speak to the founders. All I can speak to is, and I appreciate your point of view, I have also had so many mothers who would come up to me after a WWE event and say, I'm so happy that I've had WWE to be able to use as incentive for my son who would like to go to an event, but I told him his mask fork had to get up. My husband and I have been walking through airports when people would come up to us and say, thank you for the years of entertainment. This is something I can enjoy with my children. I think if you bring specific episodes out at particular times, you might find fault with them that you wouldn't, but it's an episode at a point in time, and you have to understand and see the full story. So we could argue this till tomorrow, but there is many people who would bring in countering views as to what you're talking about, as there are those who are proponents, and you just have to make your own decision.
But I think for the large majority of parents, why would a responsible parent concerned about their children's data vote for a person who presides over the production of stimulated violence and then try to use the profit to buy a U.S. I mean, that is the only question that a lot of parents are asking.
Well, let's break that one down. First of all, I believe that the voters of Connecticut would really reject the premise, I certainly reject the premise that they could be bought. I believe that the voters of Connecticut mean, I'm utilizing money that I've earned, yes, to launch a campaign. However, I have now done about 425 events across the state since I announced this in mid-September, and I know that the way that you win, the way that you earn every vote in this state is to talk to the people of Connecticut. Let them kick the tires. Let them decide whether or not they think, you think, I'm the right candidate to represent them, and if you don't, you'll make that decision. But if you do, you will have had an opportunity to have talked to me, to have asked me the questions, to have voiced a point of view, and I'm not going to get every vote. But I can certainly tell you that it is my commitment to hear what you have to say and to listen to your concerns and to be open-minded to all of them and to represent you in Washington.
Linda, you have, through your company, made many contributions to special interests, put forward to try to get your point of view supported. Now, what are you going to do when you go to Washington? Are you really going to represent the people? Are you going to represent the WWE? What is it that you really are going to Washington for? You say you don't need this position. And you gave us all the right political answers which people have been feeding you for the last year. Why are you going to Washington?
First of all, I'd like to ask you to clarify something for me. I'm not sure about what money has been paid for special interests. Could you clarify that for me?
Haven't you made over $1 million in contributions in lobbying efforts to the Congress? Haven't you contributed to various Republican and Democratic campaigns to get your point of view supported as part of doing business? Again, going back to, well, this is the thing that you have to do to become successful. So you've shown that you can go on both sides of the aisle, support any position. So what I'm asking you is, when you go to Washington, why are you going, and what should we feel that you're going to do for us, the people?
Let me just talk for a minute about the fact that I have contributed to both Republicans and Democrats. I've not always lived in this political arena or bubble that is today where I'm living. And as a result of business or personal relationships, I have donated at times to Democrats. I've contributed more to Republicans, and I am a Republican and a fiscal conservative, and my political contributions were made for Republicans to be elected and to further what I believe that they stood for. In terms of lobbying dollars in Washington, I've not spent lobbying dollars in Washington. I have worked with Congress on Smack Down Your Vote and other kinds of projects and programs there. Working both sides of the aisle, my goal is to go to Washington because I think we have to look at how we are spending our money. I've grown a business. I know what it's like to make a payroll. I know what it's like to make a payroll in good times and bad times. I know what the impact of taxes have on small companies. I know what the impact of regulations and mandates have on small companies, and I believe that we have a lack of common sense and business expertise in Washington, and that's why I want to go to Washington to lend what I believe are management, leadership, fiscal skills that I have had in order to grow a company from about 2 people to almost 600 now here in Connecticut with offices around the world. I think there's an expertise needed there, and that's why I want to go to Washington.